Hi, I'm Sanni. Coming up next on the forum, we'll be speaking with Peter Vodenka and his journey to freedom. That's coming up next on the forum. Welcome to SPNN's Forum. I'm your host, Sanni. And sitting with me today is Peter Vodenka.
Yes.
I have to make sure I say that right. Peter Vodenka.
Vodenka, yes.
Okay. And you are the author of the book, Journey to Freedom.
Journey
right?
for Freedom.
Journey for Freedom. And basically, it's, in short, the way I'm going to explain it is, it tells your story from Czechoslovakia to America.
Yes.
Now, I want to know the details.
Okay. Sanni, I was born during the Cold War, behind the Iron Curtain in the Eastern Europe. We were outside, we were behind the Iron Curtain. And we were living under government oppression. It was communist government, of course, under leadership of Russia, and all the Eastern Europe had actually communist governments. And since I was 17 years old, I was pretty much dreaming and wishing and hoping and praying that one day I'm gonna go to America. I keep my eyes open, and I learned that people in America have freedoms, freedom of speech, religion, political beliefs. Those are those big freedoms. We talk about them a lot, we understand them. But there is lots of other freedoms which people enjoy in America which we didn't have. People in America can wear the clothes they want. They can drive the vehicles they want. People in America can get education. If you wanna be news anchor, if you wanna be doctor, if you wanna be teacher, if you wanna be politician, it's up to you. You go after your goal, after your dream, you go, you get education, you go through the schools, and you become what you want. We were not allowed. Our government was controlling who is gonna get education. My parents were not members of Communist Party, which was only political party allowed. They were not members. So their children, my brother and I, we couldn't get our education. The best I was allowed to do was after grade school, I could become tradesman. I could become electrician, carpenter, auto mechanic. But I could not go higher than that. That was reserved for for children from trusted communist families. So since I'm 17 years old, I am starting to live the dream that one day I'm gonna be in America. But it wasn't easy because our government built the Iron Curtain around our country, separating the East and West Europe.
When you say Iron Curtain, what do you mean?
Iron Curtain was, what they did, they constructed the border between Czechoslovakia, West Germany, and Austria, and they make it impenetrable. That border was constructed after many different levels of fences and obstacles. The final fence before the border was have 3,000 volts electricity in it. So if somebody touch it, you die, of course. They have minefields on the ground. They have booby traps. They have soldiers with dogs and rifles. They have spotlights. The border zone was about 3 miles wide section of the land. That was before the border itself. There were big signs hanging over there. This is a border zone, do not enter, you will be shot. So you could be shot or arrested 3 miles inside your own land before you reach the border actually itself.
Wow, right.
So I couldn't go out that way. I know there is no way. It wasn't to keep other people from coming into our countries. It was to keep us from leaving.
Why?
Well, you know, according to our government, the communism was the best system there was. And the difference between Eastern European countries and Western European countries was huge. It was different living standard. You know, the stores were full in the West. We didn't have anything in the stores. Sometimes we have to wait the lines for the toilet paper and food itself. So if any one of us actually left and went to West, we would see the huge difference between the way people were living in the West and people living in the East. And that would be bad for their propaganda, because now they would have witnesses who know, hey, that's totally better.
It's a different way of life, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, so for 10 years, I was planning to escape. I am keeping my ears and eyes open. I know I cannot go across that Iron Curtain. I cannot go through there. I would die. So I have to find out some other way how to defect. And it took me 10 years to put the picture together. And after 10 years, I thought I know how to get out alive. Only difference was by then I was married. I have 24-year-old wife, 4-year-old daughter, and 2-year-old son. So now it was the whole family. I have to bring the whole family with me, not just myself anymore. And what I find out was that communist country of Yugoslavia, which was their president was Marshal Tito. He was the World War II what do you call that, the general who became president in Yugoslavia after the war. He never succumbed to Russians as much as the rest of the Eastern Europe. Okay. It was communist, but he left a little bit more freedom for his people than what we did. And one thing which I learned was the border between Yugoslavia and Austria to the north, or Yugoslavia and Italy to the west, was not as tight as our borders. Okay. They were fences over there too, but they're supposed to be sections of the land which didn't even have fences. Okay. In the rugged areas, along the swamps, rivers, mountains, and so on. So my idea was that I'm going to apply to go to Yugoslavia with our government. We didn't have to apply with Yugoslavians to go to their country. We have to apply with our government to let us leave into the other communist country. They would never let us go to Western countries, but other communist countries. Okay. So we have to apply with them. And we says we would like to go camping over there at the Adriatic Sea for 2 weeks of summer vacation. And luckily for us, we were approved. Okay. But even getting approved wasn't easy, because our application have to be approved by secret police. Secret police was major body of control which our government have to keep us citizens in the check. And they check your background. And if they decide that you are not safe person to leave your country for whatever reason, whatever they want, whatever they decided, you couldn't go. Right. Luckily for us, we got permission to go. And all 4 of us. Because sometimes, if somebody want to go, they says, okay, you can go, but you have to leave one of the child behind, or one of the parents behind. Ooh. Making sure that you don't try something. Try anything, right. So we got permission to go. And it was about 3 days before our defection, we have to make everything look like we going camping and nothing else. Because there were people always watching. Secret police was always watching. They have informants throughout the population. If you did something unusual, they were on to you. So we have to make everything look like we're going camping and nothing else. And about 3 days before our defection, we visit our parents and brothers and sisters, and we told them goodbye. Those were very emotional goodbyes for us, because we knew if we do defect, we might never be able to see them again. And we have to keep our emotions under control, because we didn't want our relatives to suspect anything. They didn't know what we're planning. We're not planning to go over there for vacation. We were planning over there to go with the hope that we're going to escape. We didn't want to let them know anything, because we knew if we do make it, they will be interrogated by secret police. And if secret police find out they knew of our plans, they would go to prison. You put them themselves. In danger, yeah. So we told them we're just going camping for 2 weeks vacation, and we will see you after our vacation. We didn't tell them we're going to Yugoslavia. Well, eventually we end up 3 days later, after we cross our borders, we end up in Yugoslavia. And then it was start thinking how we're gonna cross that border from Yugoslavia to Austria. And I know there was about 5 roads leading from Yugoslavia to Austria, 5 border crossings. They were one directional. Yugoslavians were not allowed to go to Austria.
So you mean 5 checks or 5 separate roads?
5 separate roads.
Okay.
Yes, 5 separate roads across the length of that border.
Okay.
And the Austrians could travel back and forth as they pleased. Their government didn't stop them. Yugoslavians were not allowed to go to Austria, on the other hand, because their government would not let them. But again, from collecting the information, I knew that farthest border crossing to the east, the section of the land where the road crosses the border, and the Hungarian border, because it was close to the Hungary, is about 1 mile wide. Okay. That did not supposed to have any fences. Okay. Just the border guards patrolling it back and forth on the foot with the rifles. So my plan was that we're gonna try to time it so we arrive at this place at 2 o'clock in the morning. And the reason why I want to be there at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking that's the deadest part of the night. You know, everybody started sleeping, hopefully nobody's paying attention too much. I'm believing that's our best chance to make it across the border. So I'm thinking we're going to try to time it so we are there around 2 o'clock in the morning. We're going to leave the car out of sight, and on the foot,
This is the road that's closest to Hungary.
That's right. That's
Okay.
closer to Hungary, but it's crossing from Yugoslavia to Austria.
Right, okay.
And Austria was the freedom.
Okay,
Hungary was still communist country too. We couldn't go there.
okay.
And so we're gonna leave the car. We're gonna on the foot. Hopefully, we're gonna cross into Austria, half circle around the border guards or border houses, and get back on the same road so we don't get lost somewhere, and continue on the foot into Austria until we find a refugee camp or until somebody take us to refugee camp. We know
Okay.
we have to go through it. That was process which I learned exists. So we're driving about direction of that border. It was 4 o'clock afternoon, and we are already 40 miles away only. Now I didn't want to come any closer. I didn't want to catch attention of regular Yugoslavian police. So we started looking for hiding place. And we saw the trees outside the road, and we drove into the trees, and it happened to be the perfect hiding place. There was grassy opening in the middle, tall trees around us, thick underbrush. So we drove over there, and now we are hiding with our car. This is the place we're gonna wait until 1 o'clock in the morning to leave. So we make that rest 40 miles towards the border at night. And of course, you know, we were scared. This is the night. After 10 years of my living my adult life towards to this moment, that night is here. This is the night, and anything can happen. And so we are preparing for it mentally. We are preparing for it, you know, some clothes, and we have little children. And I'm thinking about different details which can happen that night. And I realized that we're gonna wake those kids up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're gonna start crying. We're gonna drag them out of the car. But we cannot have it. They are gonna be Yugoslavian soldiers. We cannot be hurt. But how do you explain what you're planning to do to 4 and 2-year-old children?
I was wondering, when you were planning and you guys finally left, did you tell your kids?
No. No, we
Okay.
didn't tell them. My wife and I were only
The
two
only
people.
ones that knew.
No,
Okay.
nobody else did. So I sit down with my kids. I says, I need you to listen to me. We're gonna put you to bed on the back seat of the car, and while you are sleeping, your mom and I are gonna be driving at night. And at night, middle of the night, we're gonna wake you up. We're gonna walk away from the car. You will be very tired. You will be very sleepy, and you will want to cry. But you cannot cry this time. There might be some bad people. If they hear us, we can get into trouble. So they went to bed. And my wife and I are thinking about what to do next. And there was one time I'm thinking about something I need to talk to my wife about. I knew this for a long time, but never find the right words, right moment to tell her. I have to tell her now. I'm running out of time. I need to tell her before we arrive at that border. And I told her, listen, I know you are scared. I don't want to scare you even more. But there is one thing we need to be prepared for. One of us might get shot tonight. Or maybe break leg, maybe just fall, trip and fall down.
Right.
I says if that happen, that other one has to keep on going. Because if we get caught all together, that's it. We heard that our government have 10-year prison sentence for both parents. And because we would become political criminals, we would be in the uranium mines and the gulag-like war camps. And they would take our children away. Because our government would look at us as unfit parents to raise the children, because obviously we are not raising them in proper communistic ideology.
Right.
But if one of us make it across that border, I told her, there is chance we can get rest of the family there, maybe through International Red Cross, Austrian government, some other organization. So I told her, if I go down, I don't want you to stop.
Keep going.
I don't want you to try to help me off the ground. You have to keep on going. And on the other hand, I need you to understand that if you go down, that's what I'm doing.
I have to go. Wow.
I'm not leaving you behind because I don't love you. I'm
Right.
not leaving you behind because I don't want you, but that's our only
It's the
chance.
kids. Yeah. Yeah.
So of course now she was scared even more than before, you know.
Right.
And it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and we start driving. We left and start driving north towards the border. And we are following map. My wife have map on her lap with the flashlight, and we are checking every village and town we driving through, make sure we don't get lost somewhere. And after some time, we are driving, and we see sign Austria. And we exit, and now we are driving towards closer to the border. And we are guessing the distance from the map, and we think we have about 8 miles to go yet. And suddenly the road turns sharp left, half circle around, obstacles in front of us. And when we came on another side, there was border right there. There is gate across the road. There is soldier with the rifle, with AK-47 on his chest. And there is street light in this place. And we were not prepared for it. I wasn't planning to come close enough for them to actually know we are there and see us.
Right.
And now I stop the car and we are sitting in this guy's full view.
You've been watching SPNN's Forum, and I am smack dead in the middle of a great story. It is about Peter Vodenka's travel, or your journey from Czechoslovakia to America, and we are halfway through. Please keep going.
Okay. So I put the car in the reverse and I back out of the site. And I told my wife to wait over here. I'm gonna go back there on the foot. I'm gonna see what I can see. So I'm walking back towards the border again. And the rain is just pouring down. And I could hear my own footsteps on the blacktop. I didn't want him to hear me coming, so I jump in the ditch. I'm sneaking through the grass and bushes, and I come as close as I dare. I know he's standing in the circle of the light. He cannot see me as far as I stay out of that circle.
Right.
And what I see is the road behind that soldier enters the forest in the distance. And through the forest, I can see another street light. I assume that was Austrian guardhouse. And on the right side was a small building with the lights in the windows, but I could actually hear voices talking. So I know there is minimum 2 more soldiers inside that building. And there was a small car in front of the building with the border guards marking on the door. And on the right side was dirt road, full of the potholes and mud disappearing into the darkness and into the fields. And as I'm thinking over there what to do, my heart is just racing in my chest. Now this is the night. This is the night. It's gonna happen all my life, most of my adult life. I was hoping,
Planning for
this, wishing that one day I'm gonna find the place to cross the border. I don't know how that place is gonna look like, if I ever find it. But now I know this is it. It's gonna happen now or never. And somehow I have to get my wife and my children and myself across that light into the darkness behind, safely and alive. And I didn't know what to do. I know we cannot make run at that border. He's gonna shoot a soldier. He's gonna shoot us.
Right.
So I'm thinking what to do, and my mind is just working overtime, just trying to figure out what to do. And then I realized that within the 1 hour, in sight of next hour, one of the 3 things is gonna happen. Either we're gonna be laying on the ground bleeding from the gunshots, or we will be in the handcuffs and starting the dreadful way back home and future in the shackles, or we will be free. I don't know which one of those scenarios is gonna happen, but every one of them is gonna change our life forever.
Right, right.
I keep saying that we live 2 lives. That was the moment where our first life ended, and new life was about to begin. And with any one of those 3 scenarios, that light is gonna be different from that moment on. Nothing will be ever changed again. I walk back to my wife. I says, wake the kids up. She woke the kids up. I started the car. We put the shoes on them. They were fully dressed. And now we are driving back there. Only this time we know what's around the corner. And we came closer. We're driving towards that soldier. I'm expecting him to swing that rifle down and start shooting at us at any time. And I am telling myself to stay calm because he's looking directly into my headlights right now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking he cannot see the model or license plate of the car yet.
Right.
And at the last minute, I turned the dirt road, and now we are slipping and sliding and driving in the dirt, under the road. And what I was thinking was that they already know our cover's blown. They already know we are here. So I'm gonna drive on that road for some time, stop the car, hustle to the left, and hopefully we're gonna cross that border before anybody realizes what's going on. And as we're driving on that road for some time, we're slipping and sliding. Finally, I stop. I shut the lights off, shut the engine off, left the keys in ignition. We jump out the car, we open the back door, grab the kids and a couple bags, which we have laid up over there, and we are walking towards the border, towards the place we think the border in the direction. And through all my plannings and thinking about every detail, I never thought about dome light. When you open the door, your dome light goes on.
Okay.
And they were watching. They see the car driving into the fields. It was probably 2 o'clock in the morning. And when we opened the door, they must have seen us taking kids and bags. And they figured out we're gonna make the run for the border. We make about 5-10 steps from that car, and that lit up guardhouse behind us in the distance just erupted with the activities. Voices start screaming commands, dogs start barking, the car engine roar, car is slipping and sliding, coming in our direction. Somebody's carrying the spotlight, leaving the building, moving across. I'm assuming this guy is running along the border. He's trying to cut us off. So I look behind me in the darkness and I says, run as fast as you can. And we took off running. I was carrying our boy in my hand. My wife was holding our 4-year-old daughter's hand. And as we are running on this grassy strip, which we cannot see, with every breath, with every cell in my body, I am wishing and hoping and dreaming for the woods because I saw the forest behind the gate earlier. I'm thinking if we make it across in the woods, we're going to be across the border. And in the meantime, the car stopped behind our car. And there is 2 more lights on our trail. And they are closing in.
So they can see you. You're running, but they can still see you in the lights while you're running.
They didn't see us, but because of location of our car, they knew
They kind of got an idea where
Right,
you would have
where we are.
been running. Yeah.
And they were not carrying little children like we did, so they could run a lot faster than we
Right,
could.
right.
But luckily for us, the rain was coming down so hard at this moment. It was just coming down in the sheets. And those spotlights they were carrying were not penetrating the night. The rain was stopping those lights to reach us. They knew we were there. They just couldn't see us to start shooting at this moment yet.
Okay.
But it was our only chance was to make it across that border before they come close enough to see us to start shooting or arrest us. And we didn't know how far that border is. We just know the general direction. But anyway, we make it across the border before they catch us. They were really close behind us. They were probably not more than, I would say probably 100 yards, if even that, maybe even closer. We make it across the border. We bolted under the forest, which was there, and catch our breath. You know, our hearts and brains were just still rushing.
Yeah.
And then we start veering to the left to find that road, which we left before, because I'm thinking, I don't want to get lost in the woods,
right.
Circle back to the border or something.
Yeah, right.
And we find the road eventually, and we start walking away on the foot from the border. And it was June 21st of 1983. It was the time of the year when we have the shortest night and longest day. And the minute we crossed that border, the rain stopped.
Wow.
It was raining for 2 days. It was like intensifying more and more. And then we crossed that border, it stopped. It didn't fade away, it just
I was
stopped.
thinking when you said because of the rain they weren't able to see you, I was thinking that might have been a blessing.
Yes,
and then as
it
soon as you
was.
crossed the border, then it stopped. So you
Yes.
just confirmed what I was
Yes.
thinking.
So anyway, 2 days later, we end up in refugee camp, which we have to go through. We apply for the United States of America. We have to fill out the paperwork, applications, write our life history. It was translated in English and sent over to U.S. Consul in Vienna. U.S. Consul called us for interview eventually. He approved our paperwork. They sent us to doctor, make sure we are healthy. And then we still couldn't come over here without having sponsor. And we were sponsored by First Lutheran Church in Beach, North Dakota. Beach is a small town in the middle of nowhere. It's on almost on Montana border. And so we arrived at the beach in early September, and that was the beginning of our new life.
Wow. So do your kids remember any of that?
Our daughter remembers a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
I wrote a book of our story. People were telling me for 20 years, you need to write the book.
Yeah.
People in America need to hear your story.
Yeah.
I wrote the book. But we were thinking our son doesn't remember anything.
Do you want him to remember
And
that?
our daughter says she does remember, but we are thinking maybe she remembers from us talking about that. But my wife works for the Fairview Hospitals. And one day, they set up the contest for the children of the employees to write some big story which they overcome in their life. And our daughter wrote the story of our defection, and she put in some details which we forgot.
Oh, wow.
So we figured out that she really does remember.
Does remember it, yeah. Because her perspective is totally different than what you guys
as
saw,
a child,
yeah.
yes. And her story actually is in the book also.
That's
It's in
awesome.
the appendix A of the book.
So when did you write this book?
I wrote that book. That book was published in 2010. We self-published it. It took us about 2.5 years to write it. It was very different experience. I have a lady who was editing my English, and none of us did anything like that before, so it was very interesting. But we published the book in 2010. It's selling very well, actually. It's called Journey for Freedom, and the whole story and more is there. The part which I just told you covers about, believe it or not, it covers about 5-6 pages from the book.
Okay.
And the book has 300 pages, so there is a lot more. And I also do public speaking. Actually, I do quite a bit of public speaking. I spoke about 90 times last year.
Yeah, my good. And what kind of groups do you talk to?
I speak to people in the churches. I speak to Rotary clubs, Lion clubs, veteran organizations, schools, you name it. I was invited to speak at the business conferences. continuous education classes and so on. So,
Why did it take you so long to write the book?
well, you know, because I was thinking, sure, I am gonna write the book. First, I don't speak proper English. How can I write the book? And second, who is gonna read book by me? You know, if somebody who is well known in public eye, actor or politician,
I hear what
somebody
you're saying.
wrote the book, people know already the person, they wanna read more about them. Well, nobody knows me, so I was saying, sure, but it's turned out very good. We already sold over 5,000 copies.
So what made you decide I'm going to write the book? Was it your daughter turning in that story, or what was it that really confirmed that you should write the book?
Actually, what confirmed it, you know, it was in 20 years, I'm saying, sure, you know, but slowly you kind of grow into it in your mind. And then I decided I'm going to write not the book, but I'm going to write our story for my descendants, because now we have grandchildren which were born in America. And it is so easy, you know, I'm talking to people and they don't remember or know hardly anything about their grandparents. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm gonna write this story, put it together for our descendants to be able to know who we were, why we come over here, what was our motivation, what we were feeling, how this all happened, kind of give them the idea, differences between America and our homeland, and so on. And so I started writing it just for them. But then slowly it started looking like a book. And suddenly I'm thinking, you know what?
Just write the
Might
book.
as well make it like a book, you know? So it kind of grew itself, it kind of evolved itself. you know.
Okay. So for people who want to find out more information about this book, where should they go? Do you have a website?
I have a website which is www.journeyforfreedom.com. It is same like the book name. It's not number, it's all spelled out, journeyforfreedom.com.
Okay.
And there is a whole bunch of information. There are pictures of us from then, because I had the camera with us, so I was able to take some pictures along the way. Not when we were running though, but
I was wondering. that
well, there are
would be
some other
interesting.
pictures and stuff. So yeah, so website is probably the best thing to find information. Journeyforfreedom.com.
Okay. All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for coming in. I want to read the story myself. It's very inspiring. I think it's an understatement to say that your story is cool. It's very inspiring, and it also makes me appreciate the fact that I'm born here with the freedoms that a lot of us take for granted. So,
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in
Yes,
today.
no problem. Thank you.
My name's Sanni, and you've been watching SPNN's Forum.